Hi, my name is Michael Boyd, and first thing I want to say is that I am not receiving any compensation for this endorsement of Sam or Scalp MP. I'm just doing this because I'm grateful for what Sam and what his institution have done for me. And I'm just going to share my story. And the biggest mistake of my life was back in, when was it, 1987, I think it was when I had hair transplants done. And it was, in my opinion, the biggest mistake of my life. I would never do it again if I had to do it over, okay? And the procedure that I had done was kind of a radical procedure. It left severe scarring. It's called a flap transplant, if you will, for slang terminology. And it's a radical surgery. You go under surgery. You go under, okay? And it's a surgical procedure where and it requires a surgeon, okay, who takes the flap of skin from the front of your head and just leaves it vacant, okay, and then takes hair from the side of your head where you have hair and then moves it over, okay, and then it gives you a full head of hair from there. And as you can imagine, that leaves a severe scar along the side of your head because it has to be sewed back, but it leaves a severe scar, okay. And then from there, the rest of the scalp, from the front on back, was filled in with plugs. So then I had dozens and dozens and dozens of all kind of pancakes on the lower side and on the back, lower back of my head, all the way around my head, okay, for the plugs to fill in for the rest of my hair transplant. And it was okay once everything was healed. And that process took several surgeries, several procedures, and it actually took about 6 to 7 months before I was fully healed and the hair had grown back. And so it was a long process. It was very expensive. Back in 1987, I probably spent around $35,000. And in today's dollar, that would probably be $60,000 or more dollars in expense. So I spent a lot of money for the procedures. And to be honest, it was okay for about 7 to 8 years. It looked okay. But what they don't tell you in hair transplants is that oftentimes the hair will fall out. They don't tell you that, but that's the truth. And I think in most cases that happens. In my case, it certainly did. What happened gradually over time was that the hair began to thin out considerably, and eventually it just looked really bad. It just didn't look good at all. So here I was, I'd spent all that money, I had the hair transplants, and 8, 9 years later, I finally had it shaved off because it looked so bad. I'd lost so much density that it just didn't look any good. It didn't look good anymore. And that was when I liked the bald look, but you can imagine how severe the scars were, okay? And then I had to spend a lot of the next about 20 years, I would say, having that conversation with people saying, what did you do to your scalp? Kind of a thing. Or people would not say anything, but I could see their eyes go up to my scalp and look at the scarring and things like that. And it was uncomfortable. And it was a conversation that I was really tired of hearing about. And so I began to think, is there something else that I can do to maybe cover up the scars? Because the scarring was severe, as you can imagine. And for a long time, I had just basically given up and just decided to, it's the way it is, it's the way it's going to be, we'll just live with it. And that's when I came across, the whole concept of scalp micropigmentation. And I began checking out different websites, looking at different services and different things. And I began to think that, well, maybe this could possibly hide the scarring, and maybe this would be a way that I could have kind of a normal look, get my hair back, so to speak, but cover up the scarring, which is the biggest issue for me, was that. And so I began looking around, and I'll be honest, a lot of what I looked into seemed to be too much pie in the sky kind of stuff, a lot of promises being made, things like that. And I just kept looking around. I looked for probably 3 or 4 years before I decided to do anything, before I came across Sam, before I came across Scalp MP. And there's just something about the way that Sam put together his website. I liked the professionalism of it. He went into detail You know, I skimmed the surface at first, looked at all the peripheral stuff, and then I became interested in his site, and then I began to go into more detail. And the nice thing was that the detail was there. He had information about the process. He went into some of the medical science behind the process and that kind of a thing. It gave me a lot more confidence, and it was something I'd never seen on any of the other sites. And so I gave Sam a call, and after talking with Sam, we were on the phone for about 15 minutes. We set up an appointment. There was no obligation, just come in and talk to him. And having the conversation gave me a lot more confidence. And then I came in to see Sam. And it was just amazing. You know, he's just a confident young man. And I could see that confidence in his skill, the confidence in his art. And that gave me a lot of confidence in him and a lot of confidence that, you know, I'd get a good look out of the whole process. And the interesting thing too was that Sam insisted that I wait a week, because I was ready to get started right away. After talking with Sam, I was convinced, let's go. And he said, no, let's do it next week. I want you to think about this. You know, if you have any change of heart, it's okay. Think about it, and then if everything's okay, let's set it up for next week. So he actually put me off for a week, and which surprised me. I thought he'd want to book me right away. But you know, as the week wore on, I was anxious for that first procedure to start. The other thing that Sam mentioned too was that it was going to take several procedures, and for me that made a lot of sense. I had, you know, my entire head had scarring. I had severe scarring all across the front, all along the back, and along the lower sides and the lower back. I had, you know, all the scarring as well too. The little saucer, you know, scarring, the little potholes, if you will. So I had severe scarring. So Sam said, for my situation, he said it's going to take several sessions. And he laid it out. He laid out the cost per session, which is very fair to me. And I looked at it this way. I looked at it from the micro picture, but I looked at it from the big picture as well too. I had spent, back in 1987 dollars, about $35,000 for something that I was never really comfortable with. And that's the other thing too. After I had the hair transplant, even though the look was okay at first, it wasn't me. It wasn't. It didn't fit with my identity of who I am as a person. I was never comfortable with it. And so talking with Sam and coming back with you know, Scalp MP and looking at the procedure and everything like that, I felt very comfortable that this would be a procedure that would fit my personality and fit who I was as a person. I just wanted to add that as a side note. But I looked at the overall cost, and based on what I had spent in 1987 dollars, translated to today's dollars, to me it was just pennies on a dollar, you know, in cost. So I saw this as a huge cost savings, and as how do you say, you know, cost versus value. The value proposition versus the cost for me was just so high that I was just ecstatic to get started with this and begin the procedures. And it was just amazing as I went through the process. You know, the first week, you know, he did the procedure, and I could see everything come into shape. And then the second week, you know, came in, and it began to really take shape and look better and better. And as the time went on, and as the procedures went on, it just became, the look just became better and better and better. And I have to say this too, I looked forward to each session as well too, because Sam's a fun guy, he's a great guy. We'd have a great conversation, you know, while we're doing the procedures and that kind of thing. And I just knew that every single presentation I'd have a better and better look. And so I just can't tell you how ecstatic I am. I like the look. It's me. It's who I'm. You know, I feel comfortable with the look. You know, he's done a great job at covering the scars. The scars are basically gone, and I haven't, since I started this process, I haven't once come across that conversation that I had for over 20 years, where people would say, "What have you done to your head? You know, what did you do?" I've never once come across that conversation because the scars have been so effectively concealed. It looks natural. It feels natural. I have a lot of confidence now. I feel good about myself. I feel good about my appearance, and I couldn't be more pleased with what Sam has done and what Scalp MP has done. It's a great institution. Sam is a great practitioner of his art. His skill is fantastic, and I just couldn't recommend Sam, or I couldn't recommend ScalpMP high enough. They're just a fantastic, it's a fantastic organization. The facility, it's clean, it's very professional. He's got all the equipment. His equipment is state-of-the-art. He uses state-of-the-art materials, and his attention to detail during the procedure is absolutely amazing. He doesn't miss a trick. He doesn't miss the tiniest little detail. And actually, when he does the procedure, he is so focused, he's so concentrated on his work, on practicing his art, that you can see where his mind is totally engaged, you know, in the art, in the practice of his art, you know, on your scalp. It gives you a lot of confidence in what he's doing. And sometimes I notice that I'd be having a little conversation and Sam would be lost in his art, lost in his practice, you know, working on my scalp. And so my conversation kind of drifted away, but I didn't mind, because I knew that skill and that professionalism was going into the final look, into the final product, you know, on my scalp. And so, you know, I was thrilled about that. But the facility is very professional. It's clean, it's hygienic, and again, state-of-the-art materials, state-of-the-art inks. It's just, the place is totally state-of-the-art. I couldn't recommend Sam or ScalpMP enough.